Hello, everyone. This is the Cohn Zone. I'm Grant Cohn. That's my dad, Lowell. And we're talking about breaking news today. Last week, we made a bet that I think I already lost. I said that the Niners and the Jets had some secret handshake, double secret agreement that dad said was not in the realm of what's real in this world. And he was right. So it seems that the Jets are really going to take Zach Wilson or a quarterback. They traded Sam Darnold to the Panthers. Let's talk about how this trade affects what the Niners are going to do.
Hold on, let's slow down. The
So you need to bet first.
idea was that maybe there was some secret agreement between the Jets and the Niners because Robert Saleh likes the Niners so much he would give them a break. And my experience, which at least is a long time, I may not be that smart, but I did it for a long time. There is no such thing as that kind of friendship. The Jets want to win, and they decided Darnold was not their quarterback. They weren't going to give the Niners a break. Now they're looking for a quarterback. So it means the Niners are going to get literally the third pick,
Yes.
i.e. what the other two teams don't want.
Yes.
Okay, so what we're going to do today is I got a lot of football questions, and Iggy is much better at this than I am. So we're going to make him the expert, and I'm going to ask him questions. So my first question is, how does what the Jets did with Darnold affect the 49ers in the draft?
Okay. Well, there's a possibility, remote, that I still haven't lost this bet, that the Jets intend to take Mac Jones or Justin Fields or some quarterback not named Zach Wilson, and Zach Wilson falls to the 49ers, although I think I still lost the bet because I think there were other terms involved. But anyway, it's possible that Zach Wilson still comes to the Niners and that Justin Fields is the pick for the Jets. But basically, most likely, whatever the Niners get, it's going to be the third quarterback in the draft. They're getting sort of the leftovers. They're not going to be moving up to 2. They're going to take the third guy. So he better be good.
Okay, here's my question, and this is a serious question. I have no idea about these quarterbacks until they enter the league. The one that they're going to likely to get in the third pick is who?
Well, Schefter and Matt Mayoko say they'd be shocked if it's not Mac Jones. Knowing Matt Mayoko, he wouldn't say that if he didn't really mean it. He's not in the business of being wrong.
So let's say it's Mac Jones. Is he an upgrade today over Jimmy Garoppolo?
I don't think so. I think they're about the same. Very similar. They're very similar.
Expand on that.
Yeah, I mean, he's about the same size as Jimmy Garoppolo. He might be a little quicker than Jimmy Garoppolo, but not by much. His arm strength is similar. I mean, he's just coming from Alabama, where he played on a college all-star team with an offensive line that's better than what the Niners have, a running back that's better than what the Niners have, and completed about 78% of his throws, won every game. He was great, but there was another quarterback that came from Alabama last year who's the starting quarterback in Miami who stinks right now. So it's possible this guy was just a product of a super team, and the Niners are moving up for a guy who doesn't necessarily make them better.
Okay. Well, that's an awful lot of draft capital to have given up to move up to get a leftover who may not be an upgrade over Jimmy. Now, you've got to remember, this is Grant's the expert on this kind of thing. I'm not, and these are only his opinions. He may be right. He may be wrong. We're all going to find out. But it's important for me to learn and ask him this. So hold on. Well, we asked if he's better than Jimmy. We're going to do an academic exercise now, stuff that Iggy and I have done in the past. What the Niners did by giving up 3 first-rounders, Iggy, and what else to move up?
A third next year.
Is extremely bold, bordering on controversial, and a lot of people on my Twitter think they gave up too much. The academic exercise is very clear. I want Iggy to make a case that what the 49ers did is good. And to make a sincere case. When he's done, I want him to make the opposite case, a sincere case that what they did is no good. That way we can air out both sides of it, and you'll see that Grant is a fair-minded person who can see both sides of an argument. Okay, are you ready, Iggy?
I'm ready. Okay, let me do my best.
Moving up and giving up that draft capital, a good thing for the 49ers to do.
Okay, and let me know if you think I'm missing anything.
Sure.
Seems to me that the Niners are in a Super Bowl window right now. They went to the thing a couple of years ago. They had injuries last year. They re-signed all their players. They're an older team. They want to win now. And whoever they were going to get at pick 12, maybe they didn't feel would change things enough to make them Super Bowl contenders. But they clearly really like whoever they're intending to get at number 3. If that guy is Mac Jones and he is better than Jimmy Garoppolo, and he's the kind of guy who would execute well in the fourth quarter as opposed to Jimmy Garoppolo in that Super Bowl, maybe, and they do win the Super Bowl, then it's a good move. If they're right about Mac Jones and he's better than Jimmy Garoppolo, then it's a good move. Or the thing that's interesting about this move, I don't think Mac Jones is that much better than Jimmy Garoppolo. It seems like that's a tough sell for the fan base. But there's this tight end. I know it sounds ridiculous, but there's this tight end in the draft who's like the Bo Jackson of tight ends. You could play him at wide receiver. He's the best player in the draft other than the guy who's going to go number 1. And the Niners are in position to take him. And I actually think if you put Pitts, this kid, and Kittle on the same field with Ayuk and Debo and Mostert, probably 15 to 20 quarterbacks in the league could take this team to the playoffs and do really, really well. So I think they're in a position at 3 to either prove everyone wrong about Mac Jones and get an upgraded quarterback, or get an upgraded tight end, give Jimmy Garoppolo an all-star cast, and then get a quarterback in round 2, which, I mean, that's when Jim Harbaugh got Colin Kaepernick. You can do that. So I think one way or another, there's a possibility that they get a player at number 3 who's just great and changes the course of their franchise short-term and long-term.
I'd like to give a little more substance to what you just said. Viewers of the Cohn Zone know, we have a dear friend who's a retired coach. We call him our cousin, but he's not our cousin. He's just a code word. And he actually agrees with what Iggy just said. Take the tight end, and in a later round, take this guy Mond.
Yeah, round 2. Right? Excellent player.
Right.
I prefer Mond to Mac Jones right away. I think if you put Mond at Alabama, he would have beat him out.
Okay. I think what you and the cousin are saying makes a lot of sense. I don't think the Niners can do it. I think there would be tremendous fan backlash and media backlash if they traded way up like that for a tight end when they have Kittle. So I'm not arguing that it may be the prudent and the smart thing to do. I just don't think they can afford to do it for public relations reasons. Now,
they would get crushed right away with it. Whereas with a quarterback, people are going to say, well, let's give him a shot. Let's see what happens. Let's give him 3 years.
Exactly. So before we move on to the next point of you saying why it was not a good move, talk about this Mond. Why do you think he's better than Mac Jones? And then why is he going to only go in the second round?
Well, he's a better athlete. He runs better. He has a stronger arm. I think he has more potential. But he didn't play on a college all-star team. He played at Texas A&M, which is one of the teams in the SEC, which is the most competitive conference. He went 9-1 this past year. He won. He started 4 years, but he didn't play with NFL players at wide receiver, tight end, running back. So his highlights aren't that exciting. There's not a lot of big plays, whereas Mac Jones played with first-round picks at wide receiver, first-round picks at running back. Like, his highlight tape is all a bunch of 50-yard touchdowns, but because look who he's playing with. If you put Kellen Mond on an offense like that in Alabama with the Niners, I think he would look a lot better. And we saw a little bit of that. There's a thing called the Senior Bowl where NFL teams coach all the best seniors in the country in January, take them through a week of an NFL practice, and they play a game. He was the MVP. So I think he's got some potential. Okay.
If the Niners were to take him with the 3rd pick, how would people react to that?
Their heads would explode. The media isn't hyping this guy. They look at him as a 2nd-round pick. I think he'll probably end up going in the 1st round, but I don't think they needed to trade up to number 3. He doesn't have that kind of draft stock. You could probably get him in the 2nd round, which is a good value.
Iggy, I'd like you now to argue against yourself.
Okay.
You made a very good case on why it was good to trade up. And I think one of the key points was this is their window of opportunity. I used to talk to Brian Sabian with the Giants about this all the time. Lowell, this is our window of opportunity. We're not planning 2 years ahead. We have the team now. The Niners are not planning for 2022. They're not drafting a quarterback for 2022, although of course they are. But they want to win now. If they don't win now, they won't have the same team in 2022. So this is a very, very important pick. And that was Iggy's point in the first. They got to win now. Now, argue against yourself and say why it wasn't a good use of draft capital.
Right. Well, I said, if Mac Jones ends up being better than Jimmy Garoppolo and leads them to a Super Bowl, or is their excellent Pro Bowl starting quarterback for 10 years, then that's good. Then that's a good trade. But the odds are really against that happening. If they take Mac Jones with the third pick, which is what it looks like they're going to do, they're going to probably lose this trade. They traded 3 firsts and a third for a guy who's maybe marginally better than Jimmy Garoppolo. That's not good enough. That's not good enough. And if he falls short, a lot of people are going to get fired. Like, this is the same kind of trade that the Washington football team made for RG3. And it's impossible for a kid to live up to those expectations. I did a little historical background. The last 20 years, 60 quarterbacks taken in round 1. You could argue only about 15 lived up to expectations. That's 1 in 4. So right away, then the odds are against the 49ers. It's like they went to the casino and put all their money on one bet, where the bet is someone draws one card out of a deck and they say, if it's a spade, you win. If it's any other suit, you lose. And the Niners are like, okay, we're going to take those odds. They got a 25% chance to get this right. I think the quarterbacks that they're looking at, Mac Jones in particular, Dad, he threw 570 passes in college. He's not ready. He's not going to be better than Jimmy Garoppolo right away. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo has trouble staying healthy, but Jimmy Garoppolo is 29. He's been in the league a long time. If Jimmy can't beat out Mac Jones and his 1 year of experience, then I think Jimmy can. I think he can. So why is a trade a bad move? It doesn't make them better. It doesn't make them better. They're going to lose this trade, and Miami's going to end up looking smart.
Okay, let's go a little further with this. So whoever they're going to get, Mac Jones or whoever they're going to get, is not going to be a game changer.
No.
Is not necessarily going to be a game changer for them.
No.
And what you're saying is they've given up a lot to get not a game changer on this side of the argument.
Yes.
A further result of that is they've bankrupted themselves.
Right.
They've given up first-round picks. What years?
They swapped this year and then next year and the year after. So they don't have another first-round pick until 2024. Now,
they may get one, but the point is they've given up a lot for someone who's unproven and who may not be an improvement over Jimmy. That seems, according to this side of the argument, a sort of like a Jed York move. I'm not saying Jed, but Jed always acts impulsively and too soon. And in fact, on the press conference that we forced them to have, Lynch did say that, I'm paraphrasing, but essentially he said, we acted impulsively, we moved up quickly, essentially we jumped the gun because we thought there was going to be a good result. But maybe there's not going to be a good result.
Yeah, it seems to me that the Niners feel that after Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson, there's Mac Jones, who they feel they can play with now and win with now, and there's Justin Fields and Trey Lance, who are projects. And as you said, they don't have time. They have to play. This is for now. Yeah. And Justin Fields and Trey Lance could end up being way better than Mac Jones, but they're going to take time. They're projects. Justin Fields has never played in a pro-style offense. Trey Lance threw 300 passes in college. They're going to need time. So I think what they're doing is they're taking the quarterback they think will have the most success right away. And there's a very good chance that many players after him end up having much better careers than he does. And what's going to happen is, unless this guy's a 10-year starter who's really good, the Niners are going to get ridiculed for this trade for years. It'll end up looking like the RG3 trade for Washington. Like, what were you thinking? Trading all that for the number 3 pick, not the number 1 pick, not the number 2 pick, but the number 3 pick.
And I can't emphasize enough, and people may disagree with me, but I can't emphasize this enough. You make a trade like that to win now.
Yes.
You give up all of that draft capital to win now, not to win 1 year down the line or 2 years down the line. This is a win now because the window of opportunity in any league, including the NFL, closes like that.
Yes.
Real fast.
Also, Jed York isn't the most patient guy. He's given them extensions, but if they miss the playoffs again next year, who knows what'll happen? 2 years in a row, 4 years out of 5, Something could happen. So they need to win now, and this is to help them do that. I'm not certain. I think their better move, if they really wanted to win the Super Bowl next year, what they do is draft the best position player in the draft, and draft a quarterback in round 2, get a better backup. That's what I would do. And I don't think taking some rookie quarterback is going to make you. You know what? A rookie quarterback has never won a Super Bowl there ever.
I never thought about that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So the odds are against them. Okay, my next question for you, Grant.
Yes.
Let's say this does not work out. How does it affect the franchise and the future of Lynch and Shanahan?
Let's start with Lynch and Shanahan.
Okay.
I think this gets one or both fired. One could be this year, one could be the year after. But this is the kind of thing, if you get it wrong, it's usually such a big mess that ownership wants a new group to clean it up. Because you just spent you have to start over pretty much. You have no first round picks. If this doesn't work out, you have to gut the team and start over. This to me is very strange. And when you say it feels like a Jed York move, I agree, because the RG3 trade is what got Kyle and Mike run out of Washington. From all reports, it wasn't what they wanted to do. Dan Snyder wanted RG3. He wanted to trade up. And Kyle was so upset, he forced Dan to allow them to draft Kirk Cousins in the same draft. They took 2 quarterbacks in the same draft. Anyway, RG3 has a good first year, sets the expectations high, gets hurt, comes back, is terrible. The team stinks, and they're gone. It seems like you raise the stakes on yourself, and if that quarterback falls, any short of the lofty expectations you created by trading that much for him, you're fired. You're fired.
So you think Lynch, and we wonder about how solid Lynch is with that organization anyway. We have no inside information, but something doesn't smell right to me. And after that, they would give Shanahan 1 more year, and then he'd be out too, although they extended him they give him 1 million years. I mean, it's another Jed York where what's the hurry with this guy? But okay, so there would be, and for the if it doesn't work out for the organization, again, as opposed to saying the Niners are an elite organization, they know what they're doing, which is how we've come to look at them.
Yes.
You'd say, not anymore, not since this family took over. They used to be when Eddie was in charge and he had Bill and George, but not with this family. I mean,
any success they get is fleeting and gone.
Right. And it's gone because they kick it out the door.
Right.
It's not something that happens to them. It's something they do.
That's right. That's right. So I don't understand why Kyle would recreate the move that got him fired in Washington. It seems to me that trading all these picks for a quarterback creates impossible expectations for the player and the coach. You have to be great. What are the odds of that? And if you're not, I get fired. What coach wants to put themselves in that position? That feels like almost like an ultimatum from the owner. Hey, guys, I'm tired of the Jimmy Garoppolo experience. You got to figure something out at quarterback this year. Okay, well, we're going to get fired one way or another. Let's shoot the moon and see what we can get at the 3rd pick. And if it doesn't work out, we were screwed anyway.
And the other thing that troubles me about getting the leftover at the 3rd pick, and the leftover is a pretty good word.
Yeah.
He may be a tremendous leftover, but it's the leftover. I used to watch practice when Bill Walsh was coaching. I know I mentioned Bill a lot. He's the greatest coach I ever covered, and it's how I think about football. And I used to see him talking to Joe and to Steve. When he was talking to Joe, he'd hold the ball in his right hand. Bill was a lefty, and he'd show him this. He could do it with his right hand. And when he showed Steve, he'd go like that. And I asked him about that, and he said, Lowell, I think of the game through the quarterback position. That's how I think of the game. I mean, wouldn't you think of the game that way? I mean, hello.
Yes.
So he said, I think of the game through the quarterback position. Now we know he developed 2 of the greatest quarterbacks who ever lived.
Yes.
Whoever this guy is who's coming in, I have no confidence that Kyle Shanahan can think through his point of view and can develop him.
Absolutely
it's
not.
Not like he's saying, oh, Bill Walsh is there. Mac Jones is going to come in, and by game 3, he'll be Joe Montana. I don't feel that. Not with Kyle Shanahan.
No, and the way I look at it too, Kyle is convincing himself he can win right away with Mac Jones. Mac Jones, again, has 570 throws in college. Bill used to tell you and our cousin a lot that Quarterback is a game of repetitions. It's a position of reps. The more you play, the better you get. And the only way you get those reps is in a real game because practice isn't the same. So you know who else had about 570 throws in college? Joe. Joe didn't get a lot of throws at Notre Dame. It was a run first place, and he sat on the bench on the Niners. He wasn't ready to go in 1979 or even in 1980. If he had played 16 games in 1979, what would have happened, Dad?
It's true. Bill was very shrewd. He brought him in. He kept Steve DeBerg in there, even though DeBerg had liabilities. A nice guy had liabilities, but he made Joe sit, and he made Steve sit for 4 years. Steve wasn't ready either.
It seemed to me, I don't want to speak for a guy who's passed away, but he was trying to set up these young guys for success as opposed to throwing them in, having them totally fail for years and being like, hey, that's good. Good experience. Doing everything wrong.
That's a good point.
Yes.
He was setting them up for success. That's the key thing. And what you're saying is, unless Mac Jones, if it's him or whoever it is, comes in as a superstar, you're setting him up for disappointment.
The only quarterback that ever who's really succeeded right away with that little of a resume in college is Kyler Murray. But Kyler Murray doesn't really play quarterback. He's the best athlete in the league. He runs around, and then he makes plays. I mean, he was a top 10 pick in 2 sports. Mac Jones isn't that. He's supposed to be coming in and being a precision pocket quarterback like Tom Brady, and that's going to take a lot of time to develop, a lot of time. He's not just going to run around and make things happen.
Also, Kyler Murray, he doesn't see a lot of open receivers.
And that's a function of him playing 1 year of college football. I mean, he's still learning the game. Fortunately for him, he can scramble around and make plays while he's learning. That's not going to be Mac Jones. He's just going to be the guy taking hits, throwing picks, looking a lot like Nick Mullins and C.J. Beathard and Jimmy Garoppolo until he has more experience. If it were Bill, he wouldn't play Mac Jones right away. But the problem with the Niners' options are their options at 3 are Mac Jones, who's got about 570 throws, Justin Fields, who's got about 610, and Trey Lance, who's got 310. So good luck. They all need to sit. None of them's ready. None of them.
What if I say to you, G. Grant, you argued both sides, but you sound much more committed to the negative side. You're being very negative today. I'm a fan, okay? God, why do you have to be so negative?
I feel like the only Niners, like this is the time of the offseason where Niner fans want to believe in every move that the team makes, that is good, because what's the point in being negative? But if you talk to impartial observers of this trade, our cousin, I went out to dinner with my friend Devin the other night, who's a Raider fan. He said, so tell me about that trade. Seems a little like a desperate move, right? Like, I think that's how everyone looks at it. You just traded 3 first-round picks for the 3rd pick in the draft. Who does that? No one's ever done that before. It's very strange. It seems out of character for everyone in the organization except Jed York. And I don't think Jed York makes good decisions. So that's why I'm a little down on it. I just don't believe that any quarterback they take at 3 is going to be as good as they think. And I do think that this is going to be the move that gets them all fired, which is too bad. I do.
I want to move on. I know we have another topic. I want to shoehorn another topic in.
Okay.
The other day on Twitter, in fact, it was opening day of baseball, which is exciting. I love baseball. And Iggy, I love to write about baseball. I love to write about baseball. I like baseball players. I like the smell of the ball. I love it. So I wrote on Twitter, what are you more excited about? Are you more excited about the opening of the baseball season or the NFL draft? And a lot of people, my phone's ringing, but forget it. So a lot of people responded. The majority said they were more excited about the NFL draft, more excited than the opening of the baseball season. Okay? Are you there, Iggy? I hope he's coming back. I'm calling Iggy. Okay. He's coming back. His computer died.
Can you see me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I can't see you.
I don't understand what's going on. This is terrible. Sorry about this, Dad. My computer died, and now I'm using my wife's computer, and I don't know how to use it. So isn't that exciting?
Iggy, that computer, isn't that a relatively new computer?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
Okay. Are we live right now?
We are. We can keep going. I'm sorry about this.
Wow, I don't see your beautiful face. Anyway, can you edit this out when you put this up?
Of course.
And you could put a little happy face for yourself?
I could put a little happy face for myself, yes.
Okay, so my point was that I asked, what are they more excited about? The NFL draft or opening day of baseball? And the majority, there were some people who said baseball, but the majority said the NFL draft. So I was trying to figure out, why is that the case? It could simply be that baseball's time is over.
Yes.
That baseball is more for someone of my generation, and football is the modern day sport. And maybe even NBA is more than football. I don't know. So that's maybe the most obvious answer. But I would also add that in the Bay Area, there is tradition of the 49ers. Now, of course, the Warriors have won championships lately, and so have the Giants. But the 49ers are a mark of elite excellence that I don't know that the other teams have achieved. They redefined the league. And for me, the NFL is a more important league than the NBA anyway. And it may be that in the Bay Area, no one can compete with the 49ers. Even sometimes 49er preseason games people are more interested in them than an A's game or a Giants game, although those are real games. Do you agree with anything I'm saying?
I do. I feel like over the last 10 years that the Warriors have come are competing.
Okay.
I think I've seen a lot of people who only talk about the Warriors become very famous. Like Sherwood Strauss, Ethan Sherwood Strauss. He's terrific. He only writes on the Warriors. He's got like 100,000 followers on Twitter. I think they had a run in the 2010s that was similar to the Niners run in the 80s, and that created a global brand for them.
Okay.
I don't think the San Francisco Giants have that kind of a global brand.
So do you feel that the Golden State Warriors are at the level of the 49ers?
Not quite.
No, I don't think so.
But because the Niners are a global brand. I do this Cohn phone thing on the weekends, and I have people calling in from Germany and Mexico and everywhere. I don't know if the Warriors are like that quite.
You got the guy from Hungary.
I got the guy from Hungary, Botan.
Yeah. So I want, the reason I bring that up is I want viewers to understand that Grant and I are really into the 49ers, not as fans, but I think the most satisfying work that I ever did was covering the 49ers in my career, because what they did, their brand mattered so much in sports, in the sports of America. And I think if people think sometimes Grant is negative, it's not negative. He's critical. Critical is different from negative. Negative is, I don't care. Who cares about them? I get people writing to me on Twitter like that. I don't care, and I block them.
Yeah.
Critical is not negative. It means I have standards, they have standards, and I want them to meet them. I'm vitally interested. That's different. And I think critical is fair. That's why they call people critics.
Right.
Film critics, music critics, we're sports critics, and they are deeply committed to the to excellence in their field.
Yes. It's interesting. I think that's a good segue to our last topic. Joe Staley was on a recent 49ers podcast, and the host went on a little rant about how much he doesn't like me and how much I'm bad for the profession. And Joe Staley, he said, the host said, I'm not gonna say the guy's name, but he's just so negative. And Joe says, who, Grant Cohn? And the guy says, yes, I hate that guy. And Joe says, well, I mean, really, if you think about it, I mean, from a player's perspective, he gets the fans talking about the sport. It's not that bad. What he did say is, the one thing about Grant is he gets hyper focused on one player. And last year it was Mike McGlinchey. And all I would say to Grant is be an equal opportunity employer.
That is so Joe Staley, right?
Yeah, of course.
It is so Joe Staley. He's such a mature, balanced guy.
Yes.
By the way, I kind of agree with him. I mean,
me too.
I had a lot of fun when you went after Mike McGlinchey, but you really went after him a lot.
I made my point.
I think maybe this year you should give him a little bit of a break, or go after other people too.
Yeah.
So let's give Staley his props. I think he made a good, mature point, and we all, no matter what age we are, need to learn wisdom. And in this case, maybe wisdom would be to give the guy a bit of a break.
I can do that. Joe Staley is much more wise than me. And it's funny, we're about the same age, but I still think of him as the left tackle in his prime and me being 23. So I think of him as being like 20 years older than me. I defer. He's right.
Yeah. Okay. But more is, and viewers need to understand this. The most reasonable, mature players on a football team are the offensive linemen.
Yes.
They're not like, I'm going to get, like that. There's like, let's look at both points of view. Let's discuss it. Let's, like, civilized people. So Iggy, he acted in defending you like an offensive lineman.
Yeah. Well, hold on. I mean, he's not that bad. What he does is bring attention to the sport. We all need that. I think from his perspective is like, he's just calling out players that aren't playing good. I mean, instead of just focusing on Mike McGlinchey, talk about all the players who aren't playing well. And I was always good, so I never had a problem with Grant. Grant never had a problem with me, which is true. I was never going after Joe. He was pretty good.
And one other thing, he was defending an offensive lineman.
Yes, he was defending an offensive lineman.
He was defending his little brother.
He was. Yes, he was his buddy. So but he also said, you know what? I didn't want to defend him during the season on Twitter because that would only bring more attention to it, and Grant would feel like, happy. And I was like, you're right. That would have been a mistake. You got to let Mike McGlinchey defend himself with his play. And you know what? As he said, enough's enough. I'm not going to go after Mike McGlinchey anymore. Sorry, I know you turned it on because I was calling you.
No, I did. But anyway, I just, don't worry about it.
Yeah. So here's what I pledge. Instead of going after Mike McGlinchey, I'm going to spend all my effort on Mac Jones next year instead.
You know what, Iggy? If Mac Jones turns out not to be good, you're not going after Mac Jones. You're going after Kyle Shanahan.
That's right. And so is the whole world. And here's the thing about Mac Jones. Kyle thinks he has the type of cachet that he can do this, and even though everyone thinks he's wrong. And I think Niner fans will go along with the program for a little bit, but anytime Mac Jones throws a pick, loses a game, airmails a pass, Niner fans are going to be livid. They're going to give this guy no rope. They're going to be more just the way they were with Jimmy. They're going to be just like that with Mac Jones. It's going to be a very tough situation for that kid to please.
Okay. One other thing, though.
Yes.
And it's very interesting talking to a blank screen.
I know. This is the best. Our best show by far. Really good stuff.
This has been a very interrupted show.
Yeah, really good show.
If Mac Jones or whoever that person is turns out to be really good, you got to praise Kyle Shanahan to the sky.
I can do that. I can do that. Yeah. I'm wrong so often. I'm happy to say it. I don't need to be right. The Niners need to be right. I just don't think – I think they put themselves in a very tough spot, but they could work it out. They could be right. What do you think?
Absolutely. Yeah. I can't see the future. That's why you argued both sides of the argument today, because I have no idea what's going to happen. It's possible that Kyle and John Lynch know precisely what they're doing, and this putative quarterback at number 3 is going to be Joe Montana. And if it is, we praise them, we apologize for doubting them, we praise the player, and we move on to another great era of 49ers football.
And, I will say that on the phone with Jim Mora Jr., when he was adamant that it was going to be Zach Wilson, and it's possible that the Jets won't take Zach Wilson and that'll be the pick. But he also said about Mac Jones that around the league, some people compare him to Joe Montana. And we talked earlier that Montana needed time, but what this guy does show on film is very accurate. He's got good footwork, and he throws the ball with anticipation. He looks really good at Alabama, but he's not the first quarterback who's looked good at Alabama. And you know what I mean?
Yeah, and what it reminds us is it's not an exact science
Right.
drafting a quarterback. Otherwise, Brady would have been the first in the draft, and so would Joe Montana. It's not an exact science. All kind of things happen that are unexpected and some accidents.
Here's my prediction, though. If they do take Mac Jones, it'll take Kyle Shanahan 30 seconds to compare him to Matt Ryan in the press conference.
Why do you say that?
Why'd you take Mac Jones? What'd you think of him? Well, I really reminded me of a lot of the things I saw from Matt Ryan when I worked from him in Atlanta. It's an easy way to sell it to the franchise. Matt Ryan was an MVP under Kyle Shanahan. That's going to be one way that he can say, look, this guy's going to be really good. Don't think he's not going to be really good. What do you think?
Iggy, my impression of Matt Ryan is he's a statue. He has a great arm, but he'll lose a big game for you.
Well, get ready for Mac Jones, baby. Get ready for Mac Jones. You think Matt Ryan's a statue? Get a load of Mac Jones. He's little too. He's not as big as Matt Ryan. He's about 6'2". You'll see. He looks like Jimmy. They're gonna swap out Jimmy for Jimmy. People on Niners Twitter, they're saying they're gonna go from Jimmy G to Jimmy H. Jimmy G to Jimmy H.
Don't you wish the season could start tomorrow?
Yes, I do wish the season could start tomorrow. And what I'm going to have to do is spend the next 5 months creating intrigue and talking about possibilities and what if they do this or what about this. It's a lot of it's not easy. But I went to an A's game last night. I would hate to have to talk about the A's right now. They don't seem very interesting. I like football.
Was it cold last night at the A's game?
It was terribly cold. I stayed there until the 9th inning just because the tickets were expensive and I wanted to get my money's worth, but I was freezing.
How did your wife feel about it? She's from Fiji. How did she feel about watching? Did she even know what was going on?
Yeah, she likes going to baseball games. She can't watch the sport on TV, but she actually asks, like, can we go to a baseball game? And I always say I'll take her to a Giants game, and we end up going to the A's instead. But I think the Giants were out of town, so next time we'll go to the Giants.
I told you the story, when I went to Stanford, I went in 1966 in the graduate English. We were all going for PhDs. So one night, a lot of them in my class, we had about 35, and a lot of them said, let's go to a Giants game. And, to them, it was sort of like quaint. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Oh, but I had grown up with baseball. So I'm sitting there and I'm enjoying the game. And, the woman next to me, she might have been very nice, but at one point she said, how many points did the Giants have? And I just thought, God, am I in the wrong place? You know what I mean? It's like, how many points did the Giants have? The gulf between that woman and me was so wide, right?
Yes. That's so funny. That reminds me of that scene in Ferris Bueller where the principal is looking for Ferris and he goes into the arcade and he asks the guy, who's winning the game? And Ferris Bueller's on TV. He just caught the foul ball. He goes, 0-0. No, what's the score of the game? 0-0. And the principal goes, well, who's winning? The guy looks at the Bears. The Bears.
I think you got a question here, Guy.
Yeah, Sean says, Lowell, you look great. Grant, are you getting too much sun? Maybe use light when you stream. Lowell, does your gut say they are going to mess this up?
Oh, boy. Yeah. I say that with great humility, and I'm sorry, but my gut says they're going to mess it up somehow or some way. And what's more, I hope I'm wrong. I really, really hope I'm wrong. And if I am wrong, I'll apologize.
Yeah, me too. It would be more interesting to cover a team that's in the thick of things than a team that's constantly messing things up. I've been covering that team for a while. It'd be interesting to cover the other one, the one that you covered in the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Dad, this has been the most exciting conversation I've ever had to you. I'm sure you like looking at a blank screen. This is good. So what happened during those 2 minutes when I was gone and you were by yourself?
I said, I'm going to call Iggy. I figured I was live, so I didn't say anything bad. And I just said, well, he's having a little trouble. It was sort of awkward, I have to say.
I'm so sorry. I'll never put you in that position again. Michael Strelly just gave me, what is that, €10? Thank you.
Well, maybe that'll help you fix your computer.
Bay Area Vid says if Mac Jones is, hold on. No, Brizzo says Grant has been absent 9 times. Nine times. 9 times. Okay, I think we've gone as far as we can go without my face on the screen. What do you think?
Okay.
Why don't I call you right now? Don't worry about the laptop. It just, I got a weird setup over here. I think it overheated.
Okay, I'm waiting for you to call me.
All right, I'll talk to you later. Thanks, everyone.